So, tibialis posterior, and then the Dick from Tom Dick Van Harry stands for what? Flexor longus. Okay, that's this one here. So these are, again, the ones that are deeper. They tend to originate from a little bit lower down because all this real estate's already taken up right here from the more superficial ones. So they tend to start lower down, and then they are going to go through the second through the fifth, and then that leaves us with the flexor hallucis longus. Again, that's going to come over from the lateral side. It's going to come from the fibular side over here. It's going to come across and then go to the base of the first meta phalanges. Okay, because it's going to flex the big toe. Okay, so those are the muscles of the lower leg. So we'll take a break and then we'll come back and do the foot.
Are you responsible for posteriors? No? What about plantar?
Do all that stuff on a Friday night after you're tired and working and stuff, but at least, I'm trying to break it down into compartments and try to make sense of how it, is going to move across the joints. So you just want to remember, what are the different compartments, which part are they going to move, and then if it's a more superficial part of the compartment, of course it's going to have to originate higher up, and it's usually going to only go across the first joint. So like in here, these more superficial muscles only went across the ankle. Some of the other ones that are deeper tends to be the ones that went, in this case the extensor digitorum was more superficial, but the deeper ones, like specialized ones that go to the toe. And then here we had the bigger muscles only went across the heel. Then the deeper compartment here was the ones that went across the medial malleolus and down into the deeper structures in the foot. But does that mean that you're not going to have to make all your other little flashcards or other ways that you learn all this stuff? Unfortunately, you're still going to have to do that. You're not going to just walk out of here and say, oh yeah, I know all of those muscles and all of those damn words and insertions, right? You're not going to have it. Didn't work when I did it, so it didn't work when you did it. So, I spent a lot of nights looking at how all kinds of things spread out with this textbook, this atlas, this other thing. Okay, but now you guys got at least videos and other stuff like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just go over some of the stuff on the bones and focus a little bit more on specific landmarks that you need to know for palpation, and then we're going to go over some of these slips with palpation. Okay, so you can practice those again. Because again, this is the final practical right here. It's on the secure side. These are the ones, you're not going to get asked anything that's not right here. Okay? There's not going to be any surprises. All right, so here, Fred Flintstone's getting his feet rotated. And then this one comes out better. I'll have this again next week. You see this slide with the x-ray of the bones of the foot. Wearing a high heel. All right, so basically you can divide the foot. Well, what the foot has to do is it has to be able to do two different things. One is it has to be a flexible bag of bones like this, so that when you walk on different things, your feet are going to contour to meet that surface, right? So it has to act somewhat like this, but it also has to be rigid, so when you walk on your feet, you're going to be able to propel yourself. Okay? If you try to jump, you're not going to be able to do a slam dunk if your foot's like this, right? You're not going to be able to push off like that, right? You need something rigid like this. But at the same time, when you land, you need to, when you're walking around the rocks on the tide pools or something like that, you need to make your foot be flexible. Okay? So the foot has to do two different things. It has to be rigid, but it also has to be flexible. Okay? And then we mentioned the different parts of the foot. There's that one slide that shows like this here. It shows you have the tarsals, metatarsals, phalanges. But also this other slide here is good where you divide it into the rear foot, the midfoot, and the forefoot. Yeah, this one. Okay. So the rear foot is going to be the talus and the calcaneus. So that's these two bones right here. And they look like this when they're an articulated foot. Okay, so this is the rear foot right here. Okay? That's going to be when you land on your heel, you land like this, and then the talus is what articulates with the rest of the lower leg. So you have the rear foot, then you have the midfoot, which is going to be the navicular, the cuboids, and the cuneiforms. So that's this part right here, is the midfoot. Okay? Then you're going to have the forefoot, which is these, the metatarsals and the phalanges. Okay? So that kind of functionally divides the foot into the rear foot here, and the midfoot, and the forefoot. Okay? And then when you have supination is what locks the foot, and then pronation is when it's loosened up like this. Okay? So what supination is it is dorsiflexion, inversion, and adduction. So it's putting it up like this, basically. Okay, so this is supination up like this. Okay? It's like if you're doing a kick or something in karate, right? Your foot's most rigid like that. And it's when you walk, you start out like this in supination. So you land on the outside of your heel, so you're like this. And then you pronate. Okay, so what pronation is it is dorsiflexion, abduction, and eversion. So this is pronation, and then supination is plantar flexion, inversion, and adduction. So this is supination, this is pronation. Pronation is like you're taking your navicular and diving it down into the ground, and this is coming up like that. We could go over that again next week when I'll have better stuff on the PowerPoint. Okay? But if we go through each of the different bones, we'll talk about the different landmarks fairly quickly, and we'll talk about how to palpate them. I mean, obviously you're going to palpate the calcaneus here. It's going to be this calcaneal tuberosity on the bottom where you have the plantar fascia that attaches to it. Right? So that's going to be right here. You come in on the bottom of the foot, and you're feeling this front part of the calcaneus right here. Okay. So that's the calcaneal tuberosity. And then the part where the Achilles attaches on the back here. And then you're going to be able to find the Achilles tendon. That's another thing you want to be able to palpate. Okay. And then the talus. That's the one, again, like I said, there's no muscle attachments onto that. And the cuboid is the one you're going to feel laterally here. If you come up, I'm sorry, over here, okay? So you can come up from the little toe here, and then you're going to feel the solid process of the fifth met. So as you're coming up like this, you feel this right here. Okay? And then it sort of drops off right there, and then that's going to be the cuboid here. Okay? And we'll come around and go over these again.
Can you feel the talus at all, or is it inside those two?
The talus, the way you're going to feel that is,